entertainmentbuddha.com.
Hello everyone, Jim Payne here for entertainmentbuddha.com, and this is a quick video to show you a little bit of a game that I've had the chance to play called Dead Island Epidemic. It's developed by Stunlock Studios, and it's a MOBA spin-off of the popular Dead Island series of video games. It's currently in a closed beta with its release date to be announced. One of the first things that you'll notice about Dead Island Epidemic is the fact that developer Stunlock Studios has taken the game in a massively different direction than its predecessors. Gone are the kind of survival horror, first person, slightly tongue-in-cheek romp around the tropical islands that some of us has come to know and love, and some of us have come to actually be, pretty annoyed about, particularly with the last installment, Riptide. Now, Dead Island Epidemic is a completely different beast altogether. For a start, it's a multiplayer online battle arena, which, as you can imagine, involves you teaming up with hopefully some of your closest friends and going off and battling other players. And that certainly is one of the game modes available, probably the one that most people will actually find themselves playing. But there's also a co-op horde mode, which is fairly interesting to say the least. Possibly not as thrilling or as exciting as teaming up and taking on other teams and all the tactics that are involved with that type of gameplay. But nonetheless, it's actually nice to see that Stunlock have put that in there so that you can almost use it as a training ground to hone your skills or just have a bit of fun without the kind of added pressure that the kind of competitive multiplayer side of thing brings. With it being a free-to-play title, you would expect there to be quite a deep customization system, and from what I could see, that seems to be in effect. Now, quite a lot of things were actually off limits, so to speak. I couldn't access them, and I couldn't really find out much information about them. Obviously, after the game goes live, all these things will be, in place and ready for you to explore. But I could see that there were, options to customize and craft weapons, which seems, very much in key with what Dead Island, what made Dead Island so fun in the first place. There's also several different types of characters. There are survivors, and there's mutated survivors, and each of the characters are able to wield two types of weapons. There's like a long range weapon and your melee weapon, and each character can actually swap those out, and there's no real penalty for using a weapon that wouldn't necessarily belong to the kind of character that you've chosen. That's not to say that there are weapons that your character that you choose would be better with. For example, the character that I chose, had a bonus to using a light melee weapon rather than a heavy melee weapon or a fist melee weapon. So naturally, I chose to have a light melee weapon to give my character the best possible chance of scoring a decent hit on on the mobs and other players. Also within the shop, there were quite a lot of different items that you could purchase through the kind of in-game currency, and it Dead Island Epidemic follows that kind of model of having various different types of currencies. I think there was about 3 different types of currencies. There was coins that you could use in the shop to purchase items, and like blueprints so that you can modify your weapons. But there's also a XP system which allows you to level up your character. There was also the ability to speed up the progress of leveling up your weapons and character by using another set of completely different points altogether. So there seem to be quite a lot of options for, customizing your character, customizing weapons, that kind of, really deep customization, which is kind of really intrinsic to a free-to-play game. Obviously, if it's not got that kind of deep level of customization and gameplay, then there's nothing really to bring you back and to hook you in to keep you coming back for more. And I think that once the game goes live, whenever that may be, a lot of people will be quite pleased with the amount of, the sheer amount of options available to them. Of course, we're really going to have to wait until the game goes live before we get, a real sense of exactly how the free-to-play, model works and exactly what it is you will, have to pay for, what you won't have to pay for, how much you can actually earn through gameplay rather than just paying for it outright. And I think Stunlock Studios are very much aware that a lot of free-to-play games have been dubbed with the pay-to-win moniker, and hopefully they'll take all the kind of things that have been said about that kind of model and really make it worth your while to actually to play and to get involved and to spend money if you want to, but also to give that option for people who don't want to spend money on a game, even if it is only a few pence or a few cents or whatever. So I think they're going to obviously have to balance a lot out, and we just don't know as yet exactly how that's going to pan out. Okay, so let's get down to the actual meat then. How does it actually play? Well, first off, I really want to talk about co-op mode. I'm going to get that out of the way because it's probably the lesser of the two modes, as I mentioned earlier, and it is actually quite fun. There's not as much pressure. You don't have to worry about, anywhere near as many kind of tactics that you normally would do in the the straight up competitive multiplayer. But that being said, it doesn't mean that it isn't actually a challenge. And the team that I was with, some friends of mine, we failed numerous times on the level that we were actually playing. Now, one thing that I did notice with the co-op mode was that you did earn XP and gain items and progress your character, which was a nice touch. It's nice to be able to have that option to be able to do something with your friends and earn stuff that will aid your character in the the fierce arena of the competitive modes. I also just want to briefly mention that the game's visual style is I think it's actually really, really nice. I like the fact that it still retained that kind of comedy, tongue-in-cheek essence that the previous games had, but also added in its own individual kind of style. Particularly one of the levels that we played in the co-op, which had it was during like a tropical storm, so there was that really lovely kind of sheen effect of the water on the ground, and it just looked really, really nice, really pleasing to look at. The same with, it can be said of the like the boss kind of characters and special infected. They really stood out. There was a definite kind of individual aspect to them, which really set them apart from the standard kind of infected that you see wandering around. And overall, I think it was actually a really nice visual style. So that brings us neatly to the competitive multiplayer mode, which is probably going to be the main mode and the mode that you will end up playing the most. Now, it seems to be 3 teams of 4 people battling it out for supply points that are scattered around the map. The idea is that you go around and you collect supplies via either the supply points themselves, which give out quite a lot of supplies, or you can bash a few infected and get supplies that way, obviously by killing other players, which will then drop their supplies for you to rob. You've then got to take them back to your car, dump them in your car, and once you reach a certain threshold, you then get to leave the map. Now, the real interesting aspect of the multiplayer mode is the fact that it's not just you battling against other players. There are different kinds of mobs around. Some of them are special mobs, which will yield bigger supplies. There's also the standard zombies, and you also get like scavenger, special scavenger mobs that have a big rucksack full of supplies that obviously take a lot more damage. But once you've defeated them, they grant you over 100 supplies, which you can then take back and add to your total. It's interesting to note that all the zombies are completely and utterly independent. They will attack every player that they will find, which is kind of a nice touch to be able to to be stuck battling not just the infected but also other players. And quite a few times you'll be busy concentrating on like a mini boss, only to get absolutely annihilated by some very kind of unscrupulous players that are just kind of waiting on the fringes and then diving in just before you manage to defeat this massive zombie and annihilating you and taking all your spoils. And as infuriating as that is, it's obviously a valid tactic. You can see pretty much where people are in close proximity to you at all times via the minimap. So it's really down to keeping an eye out and making sure that the tactic that you choose is a valid one for your team. And that being said, that it's really important, and I can't stress this enough, it's really important, like most MOBAs, to roll with a group of friends that that you can rely on. Being stuck with a load of random people of varying levels of skill isn't exactly the best way to play, and it can lead to a lot of frustration when you feel like you're doing the right thing, and even though you're trying to communicate what you feel is the correct tactic, to have that completely ignored and have that a team with no cohesion is soul destroying, really, and it takes all the fun out of the fight. Another interesting touch is that the winners actually leave the map. So there's 3 teams. One team will win. They will leave the map. So that leaves teams 2 and 3 fighting it out for the last however long it takes before one of you reaches a supply count or the timer runs out. And that is it's a nice little touch. It allows you to get in, complete the game, get out, and collect your spoils and your rewards. I also played several different maps in the scavenge mode. They're all pretty varied. Some seem to be centered around like a coastal area with deck chairs and bars and little huts. Some like the what I would call the military complex, are deep in the jungle, surrounded by really lush green foliage, and there seemed to be like a research facility which you can go inside and take one of the points there. And it was a real nice nice looking map. Had some really interesting design choices where it would funnel players into a certain area, and that kind of keeps the combat really on edge. You know that you can't you can't flank this direction and you can't flank that direction. You have to go through this certain area. And 9 times out of 10, when you do get into these certain areas, you will see the special infected spawn, and you can quickly be overwhelmed, and I do mean quickly, several times. When I think I'm about to make the home run with a sack full of supplies, I get ambushed by 3 or 4 special infected, and I'm done because I've gone out on my own, or the guy that I'm with has been trapped by one of the special mobs and he's unable to help me out. You can also revive players. That's a nice little touch as well. Being able to, if you have the time and you're not going to get attacked, to be able to revive someone. Although it was quite annoying that if you are reviving someone or healing, if you get hit by a mob, it completely resets back to 0, which is a bit, you know, like I said, it's a bit annoying, a bit frustrating. It would be nice if rather than it resetting to 0, it would, you know, knock the bar down a little bit to give you, you know, a more of a chance to actually complete the animation and, you know, successfully get somebody up. Maybe that's something that you know, Stunlock will look at. Maybe they won't. Maybe they prefer it that way, but we don't know. So yeah, thanks for watching, guys. Hopefully I've given you a bit of an insight into Dead Island Epidemic, and as far as I'm aware, they're still accepting invitations for the closed beta, so you might want to head on over to the website if what you've seen and what you've heard really kind of intrigues you. And if you enjoyed this video, please give a like and subscribe to the channel, and also don't forget to check out our website entertainmentbuddha.com, where we make you a better geek one post at a time. I'll catch you later.
Entertainment Buddha.